I feel like I'm playing Pokemon Oops All Eevees version. The truth is, I'm not playing Pokemon Oops All Eevees, I'm playing Pokemon Lazy Green. And if you watched any of the previous videos, you already know that I'm trying to fill the Kanto Pokedex with all the shinies that I can. Subsequently, I had to release a lot of Eevees back into the wild, but it was no bother. They were all free here, just laying on this table here in Celadon City. In terms of filling out my Shinydex, this meant it was going to be so much faster, so much easier, considering the fact that I would need 4 shiny Eevees to fill those slots. This is a static encounter, which means that every one that I pick up gives me a 5% chance to be a shiny Eevee. Luckily for me, I got all of the Eevees that I needed, and I only had to release about 60 back into the wild when it was all said and done. Alright, so after using a few more evolutionary stones to get 77 entries into the Shinydex, I thought it might be a good time to rewind a little bit and give you a little refresher about what happened back in Saffron City. So last episode, we had just defeated Giovanni and Team Rocket again in the Sylph Company building, and I was headed towards Sabrina to get that Marsh badge. I also had a particular interest in the shiny fighting types next door that would be gifted to me by the dojo master. These were also static encounters, and that meant that I just had to reset a few times to get both. So there's Hitmonlee at 78 and 79, our Hitmonchan. And I must say, I was considerably lucky as to secure both of those fighting type shinies. It only took about 14 or 15 resets, not much at all. So once that was out of the way, I thought now was a perfect time to go face Koga. We had to head down the cycling path to reach him in Fuschia City. While it was good to see our old friend Koga, he was not the main feature here in Fuschia City. No. It was the Safari Zone. 5% overall shiny odds meant that I would be encountering quite a few shinies very quickly, but the catch rate has not been tinkered with in this ROM hack. And compounded with the fact that Pokemon in the Safari Zone can flee at any turn, it really meant that I would be spending a lot of time here. I ended up making about 15 rounds through the Safari Zone at least. I should have kept better track, but I felt like I spent so much time here. But boy was it worth it, especially when you catch that shiny Tauros. It looks insane. Now I still had to get Ep.3 Surf from the end of the Safari Zone and also the Warden's gold teeth. He dropped them on the ground. Kinda gross, but he wants them back. All that aside, I was trying to make the most of every visit to the Safari Zone. Let's just say, by the time I encountered all of the shinies I could here in the Safari Zone, I had accumulated well over 7 hours in footage. I gotta say it, the Safari Zone kind of threw me for a loop. Honestly, you know, I knew I was working with increased shiny odds, but the flee rates and the catch rates of the Pokemon I would encounter remain unchanged. Not to mention, here in the Safari Zone, you don't bring your trusty Pokemon in with you. It's just you, the wild Pokemon, some rocks, baits, and Safari Ball. I mean, it's not as easy as just throwing Hypnosis or Sleep Powder down on something that you want to catch. So when you see captures like this, you're just desperately chucking Safari Balls, and you finally catch something on the first attempt. It is so gratifying. That Pinsir and that Kangaskhan, oh, what a relief. Others, not so easy. You would have to maybe make them a little bit angry and chuck a rock at their head. Scyther would bring me to 89 shinies captured in the Safari Zone, and that meant there was just one left in the tall grasses. That's right, it's Chansey, the mother of fleeing. This one I had to name Lucky because I don't know How to describe the feeling of being lucky and unlucky at the same time. You will encounter so many shiny chansies that you will never catch. With probably the hardest encounter being shiny chansey out of the way, it's time to dust off the old bait and tackle and get to fishing. First one up is Slowpoke. Just because my shiny safari was over didn't mean that I was done fishing. And let's not forget, I had surf now, so I could fish off the back of my shiny Lapras. Darn it, out of safari bait again. I surfed many a pond. And I cast many a super rod at the sea, all in hopes of finding every aquatic shiny I could. I was really starting to feel like a fisherman, and maybe having flashbacks of a playthrough I did with an all-water type team, but that's not the focus here. I can't be distracted. I was adding so many digits to that ticker. I was having a lot of fun seeing some of the strange sea life in Kanto. At the end of the day, all I wanted to do with this was to just have fun, because shinies can be very fun to encounter. If you've watched any of my videos or you're checking this out for the first time, I want to say a big thank you to you. I hope you're just having as much fun as I am. Alright, and that being said, back to the ticker. We're at 106 shinies so far. I still had a lot to find throughout Kanto, but I wanted to do this before I visited Sevii Island again to face Blaine. Now, there are some other important things I need to do in Sevii. I'm not going to get to that just yet, but I am interested in getting to Victory Road as soon as possible, because there are some chance encounters there, for shinies that is, that I'm very, very excited to get to. I want to share that very soon. Alright, so I'm back in Cinnabar. I'm in a hurry to face Blaine. That means I'm taking all of the quizzes I can, and ya boy did it flawlessly. I had more shiny water Pokemon than he could ever handle, so it was no big deal. Anyway, it's all due process. But on the way out of the gym, I'm surprised by Bill. I completely forgot about this part of the story, and it took me off on a strange detour, but it was probably for the best. Now, originally I intended to surf off to the Sevii Islands to finish catching all of the shiny aquatic Pokemon therein, namely Seal and Dugong. And then while I was there, I would obviously catch Articuno. But the game takes me to Mount Ember, so it must be fated. I'm going to add the next 3 shiny fire types to the dex, and then atop Mount Ember, after just 40 resets, I finally encounter the shiny Moltres. Now keep in mind that your first trip to one island is kind of a one-way ticket until you complete the quest there. And because of that, I didn't really have access to the PC system just yet and was feeling a bit unprepared. I had a healthy stock of Ultra Balls, 99 to begin with, but my team wasn't particularly resistant to Moltres, and Flamethrower was really kind of scary. Honestly, it did so much damage and was burning Chakra, my Hypno, a lot. I was getting pretty nervous. So this battle stretched on for 22 plus minutes before finally it was over and it was done. Wow, at this point I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this little safari detour with me. I had a blast, but I gotta say, I am kind of tuckered out. Just remember that while sometimes in life there are detours, it's okay. Just relax and go with the flow and take care of yourself, all right? Until next time, thanks again from I Want Your Burger.